Hi there, and welcome to another episode of African Business Stories. Africa is the only region in the world where more women than men choose to be entrepreneurs. What this says to me is that the story of business in Africa is the story of the African businesswoman. So we're on a journey of discovery to find these women and tell their stories. On the show, we will hear from female innovators and entrepreneurs building and running businesses in Africa. They will share the highs and lows of their entrepreneurial journey and lessons learned along the way. Some of these women you may know, and many you may not, but I assure you that all their stories are inspiring in their own right. My hope is that these stories will inspire you to reach for your dreams and leave a legacy for generations to come. It makes such a big difference to us if you can rate, review, and share our episodes. You can do this mainly on Apple Podcasts, and you can find us on all podcast platforms. If you're in Africa, Spotify is now available, so check us out there. And don't forget to rate, review, and share. On the show today, I chat with Hetty Boachie-Yiadom, co-founder of P&H Boutique, South Africa's largest African print retail brand, and also the lead coach at Hetty The Entrepreneur, a results-based coaching and mentoring business for African-led businesses. We talk about the mindset shift that allowed her leave her corporate job of over 10 years and scale what was then a side hustle, growing the business from her home to 7 stores across South Africa and leveraging e-commerce. How a timely pivot at the start of COVID kept her business afloat, and what led her to set up the coaching and mentoring business. I had a mini coaching session as well. Let's get into it. Hi, Hetty. Welcome to African Business Stories.
Hi there. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
I'm very fascinated by your multicultural background. I know your mom is South African and your dad is Ghanaian. So I was just wondering what it was like growing up in such a multicultural home.
To be honest, it's quite colorful because my parents are both multicultural themselves, and they surround themselves with people from all walks of life. So I consider myself a global citizen from birth. I've always been, surrounded with people from all walks of life, and it's given me quite a broad perspective in life.
So tell us about growing up you were born in Russia.
That's right, yes.
So tell us about that experience.
It's quite interesting. My father was in Russia. He was on a Kwame Nkrumah scholarship. And my mother was in exile at the time. She was part of the ANC political movement, and so she was in exile. And, they met in university, and they had me in Russia. And my memory of Russia is honestly very limited because we left there when I was 1 year old to go to Ghana.
Okay.
It's quite interesting, though, just hearing the stories from my parents about that time. The diaspora community of Africans just coming together, in solidarity. I think it's just so beautiful. And I believe that truly is the beginning of my multiculturalism and truly being a global citizen of the world.
So you then moved to Ghana, and then how did you end up back in South Africa?
So my father is from Ghana. And so as a family, we moved to Ghana. We were there for about 3 years. And thereafter, he received an opportunity to study in the UK. And my mom did as well. So my mother then got her master's degree in law, focusing on women and children's rights. And my father went on to do both his master's and PhD. And so that's how we ended up in the UK. And then to go to South Africa, what had happened was South Africa in 1991, there was a call for all South African individuals who were in exile that the country was open and you could come again. So immediately my mom was able to to gather the funds to purchase a ticket to return home. And I visited with her for some weeks before we went back to the UK. So it became abundantly clear that she really wanted to return home. There was a call for individuals in exile who had acquired skills to come back and plow back into the country, because you can imagine through the apartheid regime, there was a huge brain drain and a massive campaign to really bring skills back into the country to rebuild. And that's what led to us then coming to South Africa. And, we did so as a family, and we've been living here ever since.
That's such a beautiful story, Hetty. Such a beautiful story. And just moving on now to college and deciding on what course to do. So what college did you go to, and what did you study?
All right, so I went to the University of Pretoria and I studied political science with a focus on international relations. And the reason for that is I love politics. I really grew up in a politically aware household, and politics has really always been my strong point. And I had a minor in English. And after university, I just thought, I don't necessarily want to work within government per se. I would love to actually be in the private sector. And I decided to use my minor in English. And so I was able to get a job then within an investment bank. And I was an editor there within the investment bank. And it was really such a great turn of events, because I thoroughly enjoyed my corporate career.
So how long were you in the banking sector for?
I was in the banking sector going on 10 years. So I
Okay.
entered in as, within the sector in a very junior level. And by the time I left, I was heading up the editorial department that I was part of. So it was something that I thoroughly enjoyed. I'm not one of those people who transitioned from corporate to entrepreneurship because I found corporate to be completely intolerable. I actually enjoyed my job quite a lot, and the skills that I learned from there I apply within my business. It's just the calling to be an entrepreneur was so much stronger.
Right. So let's talk about that, because while you were working, you started a side business, a side hustle, as we call it. I don't know what it's like in South Africa. In Nigeria, is what most people do. You have your 9 to 5, and then you have this side hustle. And for some people, it stays like that for the duration of their working lives. So what made you decide to start this side hustle as it was then?
It's interesting because in South Africa, it's not common at all to have both.
Okay.
What is generally common is that, you'll go to university, you'll get your degree, you seek a job, you have one job, one salary. And the
Right.
only reason why a person would seek a side hustle is if perhaps, they're not doing well financially, etc. So it's often looked upon as something that a person does to earn an extra income. So if you're in a good job, then people don't naturally expect you to start a side
Right.
hustle. So, when my husband and I then decided to start a side hustle, our family and friends were just surprised. They were mortified. Why are you doing this? You're both in such great jobs. You're in an upward trajectory in your career. You're earning well. There's absolutely no reason for you to start a side hustle. What is the silly little thing that you are busying yourselves with? And what they didn't realize was at the time, what we were beginning to do was embarking on the process of self-education and acquiring knowledge. And,
Right.
when it comes to self-education, this is the type of knowledge that you do not acquire within a classroom. You don't acquire it within the brick and mortar walls of a traditional learning institution. What we were learning from books like Rich Dad, Poor Dad from Robert Kiyosaki was the fact that the average millionaire has multiple streams of income. So they don't
Right.
put all their eggs in one basket. It doesn't mean that those multiple streams of income necessarily have to tamper or interrupt with your day job. But what it does mean is that you're able to build a legacy. Now, none of us are taught this at university. None of us are taught about how to actually make money. And for us, what we realized is that being in a corporate job meant that we
Mm.
were trading our time for money. So if you do
Right.
not go to your work, you do not earn money. And we thought to ourselves, but what if we could control that? What if we could
Mm.
control how we earn our money, how much we earn, how many leave days we want to have? What if we could be in charge of that? And that's when it became abundantly clear to us that if we started our own business, we could be able to dictate our own lives. We wouldn't have to
Right.
live according to a template. We could spend time together. When kids come along, we could have the option of being full-time parents. And that is something
Mm.
that is completely unheard of in these parts. And so
Mm.
our journey to entrepreneurship began out of a desire to really build and live an extraordinary life together where we get to spend more time together.
That's fantastic. So how did you decide what business you were going to do?
You know, it's quite interesting because we spent several nights debating and toying with ideas, going backwards and forwards. And we said, you know what, we'll do whatever comes naturally to us. At the time, my parents were diplomats in Egypt. I had
Okay.
actually spent some time there. And in the time that I was there, I had fallen in love with Egyptian cotton. And I would often
Mm.
buy, my husband Egyptian cotton shirts. And every time he'd wear them, people would compliment him. Oh, you look so nice. Your shirts feel amazing. It's clear that it's not local. Where is this from? And immediately we saw a business opportunity. There's clearly demand for this. People love this. And our
Mm.
journey actually began by simply importing Egyptian cotton shirts. And it did quite
Right.
well for some time. And one thing about Papa and I is that when you see us, we love African print clothing. And often at times we'd be dressed in African print clothing and people would ask us about it. And we said, let's transition into this because it's something that comes naturally to us. It's something that we're always wearing. So we'd be a walking advertisement for our business in any case. And from there, that is how P&H Boutique was born as an African print retail brand.
So you've gone on to grow this brand from one. You had one boutique. I think you have about seven
Yes.
boutiques now. So how? What was the process of deciding you're in a job that you love? Your husband is also in a job that he loves. You start this. You find a business idea, start it, and start to grow it. And so, what made you then decide that I want to quit my job and make this my main hustle and go all in with this with P&H boutiques?
It's interesting because when we started the business, it kind of started as a hobby, like most businesses do. And we had no idea the type of earning potential or growth potential that the business had. We were just going just organically through it and kind of feeling our way in the dark. But the business kept growing. It started online. People were ordering, were constantly packaging parcels for delivery with a courier company. Then we began to do pop-up shows, so one-day pop-ups, and the pop-ups would get packed. People would come from far and wide. Then we took the pop-ups on a road show. So not
Hmm.
only would we do it in our city, we've got 9 provinces in South Africa, we'd go to the other provinces and people came in their numbers. And then before you knew it, we had to visit certain towns again because they were begging
Wow.
us to come back. And then the pop ups would be not one day, but 2 days, then 3 days. And then, the demand was so much. And they reached a point where people even wanted to come to our home because at this stage, we didn't even have a store yet. And so we then
Wow.
had to transform our spare bedroom into a showroom. Then we had to transform our garage. into a showroom. So our cars were now parking outside because our garage was now a showroom. And then eventually they reached a point where we both looked at each other and we said, who are we fooling here? We have to open a store. It's
Hmm.
time. It's time to open
Right.
a store. And that is how our very, very first store was opened. And, from there, it's really grown from strength to strength. And just using the power of social media, analytics and
Hmm.
social media, we've been able to open up stores where we see a demand for our product and where we've been able to build a customer base.
How have you managed to ensure quality in the product that you're selling?
It's been quite a journey, I must be honest, because it's one thing having an idea, but really executing it to the standard and quality that you would want is an entirely different journey. And often at times
Mm,
people don't see those growing pains. So
mm,
initially we used to outsource quite a bit to different tailors. So we would have the designs and they would execute on those designs. But of course, no two tailors are the same. Their
mm.
work is not the same, the workmanship is not the same, etc. And because we were now building a tribe and community of people who follow and believe in P&H and only want to wear P&H clothing, we realized that we needed to now get a firm handle on our quality control and consistency of the product that we're putting out. And that is how our factory began.
Okay.
I say factory, but when we started, it started with one person in a tiny little room with a sewing machine. And we were so afraid, would he come to work the first day? And there he did. He came to work. Then the second day, he also showed up. And so we had our very first employee. And from there, as the orders began to come in, as the business began to grow, we got a second person, a third person, a fourth person, and now we have an entire production facility. But it really started with one person. And in that, we've got a quality controller who oversees the quality of the garments. We've got finishers who oversee the finishing of the garments. So we've really put in structures in place to ensure quality and consistency of our product.
That's excellent, Hetty. Congratulations, because that is a big challenge for a lot of people in the retail space. So congratulations on that.
Thank you so much.
You talked about growing your business online, and and I wondered if you can just speak to that process of, because I think I read somewhere that you have the fastest growing online retail business
Mm.
in African prince clothes. But just looking back and reflecting, what are the kinds of things that you did to build that online presence for your brand?
When we started our business, we had very little capital. So we were very clear that if we wanted to do this, online would be the way to go because the barrier to entry is a lot less and you can reach a lot of more people without necessarily having to have a brick and mortar store. So I love shopping online. I've always shopped online. I love to shop international brands and get the items delivered, etc. So as a consumer, I understood that my customer is like me. They also want to be able to shop online. It's exciting to receive your packaging. It's exciting to receive exactly what it is that you've ordered, etc. And so based on that consumer experience, and also benchmarking against international brands. What do their websites look
Mm,
like? What are their delivery timelines? How do the packages arrive? How do they communicate with customers? We were then able to set a standard that would set us apart from the rest. And that
right.
has been one of the biggest things that has really put us in good stead. We also worked very, very hard to build a trustworthy and credible name for ourselves. So people associate P&H Boutique with quality. They also associate P&H Boutique with reliability, because there's often that fear that what if I get scammed? What if I don't receive the product? If I'm not happy, is there some kind of recourse? Can I exchange if perhaps the sizing I received is not quite what I wanted? All of that stuff. So we worked a lot on also awareness within our customer base to make them
Hmm.
comfortable that should they have any need to contact the company for whatever reason, they would by all means be assisted.
That's awesome. So I've been speaking to a lot of people recently who work with their husbands or partners, and I wonder what it's like for you working with your husband on a daily.
It's I thoroughly enjoy it. I've spoken to a number of people who said they could never possibly ever do that. And I completely understand, it's not for everyone. But for us, it
Hmm.
really works. And I think what makes it work is that we made a conscious decision to focus on our strengths and to leverage our
Okay.
strengths. So I know that I'm good with marketing. I know that I am good with, staff relations. I know that I'm good with customer care, etc. He is fantastic with the numbers. He's fantastic with logistics. He's excellent with systems, etc. And any other area where there is a need that we are both not strong in, we simply outsource.
Right.
So that makes running the business so much easier because we are focused on each other's strengths. And so each
Hmm.
day we are bringing the best of our abilities to our business to ensure that it continues to grow.
So Hetty, we talked briefly about money and starting off and not having a lot of money and going online as a way to overcome that challenge. And I wonder if at any point you did try to raise money for the business, and if you did, what that was like, and if not, how you've managed to fund the business so far.
I wish I could tell you we've received funding. I wish I could tell you that it's an easy process. I would honestly be
Hmm.
amiss to say that. A lot of entrepreneurs are looking for funding all across the continent, all over the world.
Yeah.
A lot of entrepreneurs believe that in order to start, they need funding. But the reality of the situation is that only 1% of entrepreneurs actually receive funding. So mentally,
Wow.
we have to prepare ourselves that there is a high possibility that you have to go it alone, especially when you are in an industry that is not necessarily considered sexy for funding. So, with us
Right.
being in
Hmm.
fashion, it's not necessarily the portfolio that a lot of investors are looking into. They look into
Yeah.
construction, IT, all of that sort of traditional type of investment
Hmm.
portfolios. So for us, we tried here and there, but we weren't successful. And we just made a conscious decision psychologically that no matter what happens, we are going to succeed anyway. It may not be that as fast as if we had funding,
Hmm.
but we are going to succeed nonetheless. And having that resolute disposition allows you to embrace growing organically. It allows you to embrace humble beginnings. And let me tell you, there are so many powerful lessons to be learned through humble beginnings. And looking back, I am grateful that we didn't get funding because I've seen people squander funds. I've seen people make huge mistakes because when a challenge comes in their business, they throw money at it because money is available as opposed to becoming industrious and finding solutions. So for us, our
Hmm.
website was built by ourselves because we didn't have the funds to pay
Right.
designers. They were charging such exorbitant fees. So now I know how to build a website from scratch. So there's certain skills that because we did not have funding, we've actually been able to teach ourselves. And in the subsequent years, as the business grew, as it gained popularity, we have had some of the most popular investors, well known, investors approach us for funding. But now we
Hmm.
are in a position where we have the ability to choose. Are you the right investment opportunity for us? Do the terms of this agreement suit us? And if it doesn't, we now are empowered to say no. So, a lot of entrepreneurs in the beginning, when they haven't yet started, when they haven't yet gotten their hands dirty, what happens is they take on funding which is not always in their best interest in the long term, but they're locked into long term agreements. And so for us, being self funded has actually been a blessing in disguise.
COVID has impacted businesses across the continent, across the world, and not every business has been able to make it, and some have, and P&H Boutique has, thankfully. And so I wonder if you could share some of the things that you did to keep your business afloat, and if you had to pivot at any point, and what kind of pivot did you make in the business? So those are two questions,
Yes.
but you know, yeah.
Indeed, COVID has really it's been a doozy. I mean, nobody could have imagined it. Nobody could have dreamt this up, and it really caught all of us unaware. And,
Mm,
in the midst of it, in the midst of hard lockdown, we had to close all of our stores, we had to close the factory, and we had to be indoors. We had conversations with our staff members to say, we don't know what the future holds. We don't know. Our initial lockdown is said to be 21 days, but it could go longer. As I'm speaking to you now, we are reaching almost 1 year of lockdown.
yeah.
Restrictions have, of course, eased since hard lockdown, but things are certainly not back to normal. And so the entire business landscape has changed. For us, our busy seasons were completely taken away from us because events are not happening, and a lot of our business is very much events based. And so, definitely, we have been impacted. We are so grateful to continue to be in business. We're so grateful to still have our staff members. We're so grateful for our clients that continue to support our business and continue to trust in P&H Boutique because they are the ones that truly keep our doors open. And so, in terms of pivoting within the retail business, it's interesting because we saw what was happening abroad. A cousin of ours actually lives in China, and so
Mm,
he was giving us blow by blow updates of what was happening. And it became abundantly clear that when COVID eventually hit South Africa, we will have to go into lockdown. And so we began to
mm,
look at the different trends worldwide. What's happening? What are the trends that our business could potentially tap into? And we noticed this trend of cloth masks, particularly within the Czech Republic, in South Korea. They reported significantly reduced rates of spread of the virus as a result of wearing cloth masks. And
mm.
my husband and I took one look at each other after reading the reports and we said, that's it. That's what we need to do. We need to stop making clothes with immediate effect and completely repurpose our factory into a mask making establishment. And that's exactly
Hmm.
what we did. It involved staff training, bringing in necessary equipment and machinery, making sure that the environment met the necessary legislative protocols and all of that. And we began making cloth masks. We were the first company in South Africa to do this. When cloth masks
Wow.
became mandatory within South Africa, we were literally inundated with orders.
Wow.
Inundated with orders. Private individuals, businesses, corporates, government, left, right, and center, ordering from one to hundreds and thousands of units. And so just having the ability of researching, having foresight, and seeing that in the midst of a calamity, where is the opportunity for my business? That is how we
Hmm.
were able to pivot. And
Wow.
it really put our business in such good stead.
I am here taking notes. And this brings me to your other business. You always come out teaching, you always come out coaching.
Mm.
So I guess that brings me to your other business, which is mentoring.
Yeah.
The first time we started following each other on social media,
Mm-hmm.
and I've one of the things I love to do is watch your night classes. You're quite the
Mm.
teacher, I must say. How did you come to mentoring and coaching?
I love mentorship, and I love African businesses in particular. Somebody asked me the other
Mm,
day, Hetty, why are you focused on African businesses, African-led businesses? Why not just businesses in general? Surely the issues all businesses face are the same. And I said, yes, that is true, but I have a particular vested interest in African-led businesses because Africans are my people. And I have an
mm,
invested interest in the growth of my people. And so whether it's an African-led business in Canada, in America, in Tanzania, in Nigeria, I have an interest in it if it is African-led. And so I've always wanted to grow and impact African-led businesses. One of the biggest challenges I faced was that time was a restrictive factor. And I would set up mentorship sessions, and it's a physical interaction. So we have to meet at a venue to have that session and then come back. And I'd find a good 2 to 3 hours in the day has now been lost.
mm,
And, running multiple retail stores and all the other things that come with it, I just felt that it was eating too much into it. So, interestingly enough, in the midst of hard lockdown, I had one of those introspective conversations that I suppose we all had with ourselves, where you're indoors, the world as you know it has completely turned upside down. And, there's a lot of uncertainty. And I thought to myself, Hetty, you now have this rare opportunity to actually sit with yourself and have a conversation with yourself. And I truly asked myself, over and above our retail business, if there was something else that I would like to do, what would that be? And immediately I
mm.
knew that it would be mentorship. Immediately I knew that it would be growing businesses. Because even just in my day to day life, I'm always advising business owners. I'm always giving people business solutions. And they take it, they run with it, they implement it in their business and they make money. They come back, they're happy, they're always telling me their success stories. And it gives me such an amazing sense of purpose. And I thought to myself, that is truly what I would want to do. I would want to lend my voice to African businesses. And so I thought to myself, well, here I am. I'm forced to be indoors. And the entire world is available at my fingertips. Why not just start
Mm,
right here, right now, online? And so I had to
okay.
have a mindset shift that mentorship does not only have to take place in the physical realm, it can actually take place online. And by so doing, I'm able to actually reach more people. And that is how
Mm.
Hetty the Entrepreneur as a brand was born.
That's fantastic. So tell us about the structure because I mean I attend a night class and night classes are free. Thank you for having a free a free session. But what's the structure of this business?
So we have different product offerings and they're all digital products. So as you've mentioned, we've
Okay.
got the night classes and that happens on social media, predominantly on Instagram Live. And I just go on there and talk about a particular topic. Sometimes it's something that I've observed or questions that I receive from individuals and I teach to provide solutions for their businesses. Over and above that, I do have other paid for services such as one-on-one mentorship. I've got webinars, I've got masterclasses, I've got signature courses. So I've even got a signature course that is launching in March called the Ultimate Monetization course. So that's an 8-week course. So a person
Oh
can
wow.
plug into the different product offerings depending on where they are in their business, what their needs are, etc. And I must admit, it's been truly successful. A lot of businesses have plugged in. I had a goal of materially impacting 100 African-led businesses in 2020, and I was
Mm.
able to do that through those various platforms. And in 2021, my goal is to produce 300 African-led businesses that will earn an income online through monetizing via digital products. So that's my goal for this year. And so each year I'm finding that, we're growing and getting better and better.
So what's this business called, Hetty?
This business, I've just really self-named it as Hetty The Entrepreneur.
Okay.
And the reason for that is because I am the individual behind it. My long-term goal, however, is to form an academy where we will have different mentors, different coaches, different facilitators that assist entrepreneurs through a cross section of their various needs. So if they have something that's accounting related, there'll be an expert available for that. HR related, there'll be an expert available for that, so that it is not just reliant on my skills and capabilities, but leveraging off a cross section of other capable and talented and expert individuals that are also African led.
So who are your mentors, Hetty?
Wow, I've had different mentors over the years. And interestingly enough, I've always had mentors throughout my life.
Hmm.
I feel that mentorship is such a invaluable component of success that we don't often speak enough of. Having
Hmm.
individuals who are a GPS to show you the path to go on because they have already walked that path is truly, truly invaluable. I've had various mentors. I've had Ken and Nikki Bouch. They were my very, very first mentors in business. And through them, I learned the principle that I apply in my business till this very day, and that is treat your business like a business. So
Hmm.
if you treat your business like a hobby, you will get hobby results.
Right.
If you treat it like a business, you will get business results. And that for me is something that has always stuck. So whenever I'm making a decision, I ask myself, is this a good business decision? Is this a big business decision? Or am I making a hobby decision here? Because the
Hmm.
results will then show. So that's Ken and Nikki Bouch. I have had mentors such as Jimmy Tewe. He's based in Nigeria.
Yeah.
And one of the biggest lessons I learned from him was understanding that our money mindset needs to shift to global mindset. So often at
Hmm.
times when we think of our money goals, when we think of our earning potential and how much money we want to make, we often think in our local currency, whether it's South African rands or Nigerian naira. But we're now living in a digitized world where you can earn in multiple currencies.
Hmm.
So by having a global money mindset, you automatically open yourself up to a global audience, a global economy, global clients, in order to be able to earn in dollars, in pounds, in euros. So he changed my money mindset. And it's so
Hmm.
interesting because then within lockdown itself, I was able to earn in foreign currency. By
Right.
simply having that mindset shift, your brain now begins to calculate and say, okay, if we can earn in foreign currency, let's figure out a way to go about this. And so your thinking then begins to adjust. And it's been such a phenomenal limiting belief that has been shattered as a result of my mentor, Jimmy Tewe. I've had various other mentors along the way. Ian Furr, he is the founder of the Sorbet Group. That is,
Hmm.
South Africa's largest beauty franchise business.
Hmm.
They've got over 200 franchises. And it's really been fantastic to have him as a mentor. The biggest lesson I've learned from him is based on servant leadership, that leadership is
Hmm.
always about serving, and that if you are not serving, then you're not leading. And that is a business lesson that I've learned for myself and that we've inculcated even to our staff. So I've had
Hmm.
really some of the world's best mentors, to be honest.
That's fantastic. So where people can't reach people personally, I know there's a lot to be said about, reading books, and you seem to be quite a big believer in reading. And, I mean, I'm putting you on the spot now, but what are like two of the best books you've read in terms of personal development?
I think one of my two favorite books that I'll mention, the first one I literally read about twice a year, and that is The Magic
Okay.
of Thinking Big. The Magic of Thinking Big is such a fantastic book because what it does is it tunes your brain and challenges you to think big. Because sometimes, by default, we think small. We think easy win. We think, what is the easiest way for me to accomplish this particular thing? But when you think big, it challenges you to see beyond your present reality, to
Hmm.
imagine an alternative reality from what you are currently seeing and then working towards that. So that's the magic of thinking big. The second book is The Slight Edge. The Slight Edge is all about the daily practices that we need to put in our lives in order for the slight edge to take effect. So, for example, if you want a particular goal, let's say you want to, I don't know, lose 5 kilograms. The first day you go to gym, you're not going to see a difference. You won't even see a difference maybe in the next 2 weeks. But all of a sudden, after 2 months of consistency, you begin to see a difference. So when did the difference happen? Did it happen on the day you hit 2 months? Or was it the cumulative effort of each day being consistent despite not seeing any evidence of change? That is the slight edge. The daily things we need to do in order for the slight edge to take place and for us to tip over the edge and to see the results of our daily discipline.
Hmm. Hetty, wow. I feel like I've just had a coaching session right there. Thank you. So tell us before we close out. Tell us a little bit about this course that you're starting. Did you say it starts March 15th or registration opens?
So registration opens on March 15th, and that is registration for the Ultimate Monetization course. It's truly a transformative 8-week course. This is a course that I developed as a result of my own experience monetizing through the use of digital products. So, at a time when people's businesses were closing, at a time when there was much uncertainty, at a time when people's businesses were struggling, I started this coaching and mentorship business, and it began to boom for me. I began to make money. I began to earn in foreign currency. I began to meet people all over the world, and this was through the use of digital products. Then I began to think to myself, I don't think enough people know about this. What if I try to introduce digital products into the businesses of some of my mentees? Let us see if the results that I have received are duplicatable or if it is unique to me. So we implemented it in their business. And it's just been incredible the results that they've received. They too are
Hmm.
monetizing online through the use of digital products. And I thought, my goodness, and these are different industries, life coaches, people that are teaching parents how to be better parents, people that are teaching couples how to have healthy relationships. So it wasn't only unique to the entrepreneurship space. And that's when I came to realize that if a person has a skill, an expertise, a passion, experience, or
Hmm.
results, they can take what makes them unique, what makes them special, and they can package it into a digital product that can be purchased online for somebody that is looking for those results, experience, and expertise. And what I love with this is that there is a limited barrier to entry. So, unlike a
Right.
traditional business where if you're in catering, you need to buy, ingredients in order to make the food, or you need to buy makeup in order to do somebody's makeup, or you need to buy raw
Hmm.
materials in order to construct. What you need to monetize online via a digital product is you.
Hmm.
It's you showing up for yourself. There's some
Right.
digital products that don't even cost you a cent to produce. But all you need to do is to package that information. And, so that's when I realized more people need exposure to this. More people need to be able to do this. And so that is how the Ultimate Monetization course has been born. It literally is the first and last course you really need on monetizing via digital products because it is completely inclusive. You're able to
Right.
create your digital products. You're able to learn how to market your digital products. You're able to determine what your niche area is going to be, how to attract your customers, everything. And it all takes place online. So you're able to access it no matter where you are in the world. And so I'm truly, truly excited about this course. And I'm really excited about the transformative results it's going to have in the students' lives.
So when will the course actually start?
All right, so the registration is from the 15th to the 31st of March. That's early bird registration. Normal registration is the 1st to the 3rd of April, and the course officially starts on the 7th of April. Students will be able to log in, enter, and access their student area. We're going to have weekly group coaching sessions. And you know me, I never come alone. I have gathered the world's best masterclass experts to come and teach us their knowledge. So I spoke about Jimmy Tewe, who helped me with my
Yeah.
mindset, money mindset. He's going to come and impart that knowledge to the students. I've got a lady called Vangile Makwakwa. She's based in Sri Lanka. She's going to help them from a pricing of their products perspective, because surprisingly, a lot of people underprice their products. So she's going to be helping us with that. I've got Vumile Msweli. She is a world-renowned international speaker, and she's going to be teaching the students how to speak with confidence. You'd be surprised. There are people who have knowledge and skills, but they don't have the voice to express it. So Vumile is
Hmm.
going to come and give us all the confidence that we need to really put our magic out there. I've got Andrew Tsuru who's going to be teaching us about how to teach like a pro. So I've got really, individuals that are absolutely phenomenal that have changed the way that I do business and will do the same for the students as well.
Thank you so much for sharing. It's been a really great conversation. I have personally learned so much. In closing out, I normally like to end with a reflection and some advice.
Mhm.
In building this business, in building your business in South Africa, on the continent, what has been the most fulfilling thing for you?
To be honest with you, when I started mentorship, I really truly thought that I would be the one teaching my mentees. I would be the one impacting and transforming their lives. I don't think I was ever ready or prepared for the impact that they would have in my life. The sense of purpose and fulfillment that they would give me when they come back and say their businesses are growing or a challenge has been solved, to see how ambitious and resolute they are in their own businesses has inspired me. They keep me on my toes. They give me a sense of purpose to wake up in the morning. They give me a sense of ambition to continue to pursue my goals and my dreams because I see them doing it too. So I never really thought or anticipated what I would benefit from this entire process of these mentees. Each and every one of them is so special and unique in their own individual way. And it has given me a sense of purpose that truly is second to none.
So if you could give one piece of advice to other female entrepreneurs in Africa, what would that be?
My biggest advice to female entrepreneurs in Africa is that see yourself as a bright light, a bright shining chandelier. We are living in a time and age where people make predetermined judgments of who women should be, how they should be, and how they should show up in the world. In every given situation, whether you're in your business, whether you're entering into a boardroom, be that light. Do not be afraid to shine bright, because what you are then doing is that you are lighting a path for others, and you are giving them permission to also shine their light bright. I believe that there is a space in this world for each and every one of us. And there is a mission and a purpose for each of our lives. And by tapping into that, that ensures that you leave an indelible mark in this world. And there is absolutely nobody in this world that is quite like you. And I would encourage all female entrepreneurs to truly believe in the power of their own magic.
That's excellent. Thank you so much, Hetty.
Thank you so much. This has been absolutely wonderful.
Thank you so much for listening. If you're not already subscribed, please do so on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcast. And don't forget to leave us a review so we know how we're doing. I'm Hetty Boachie-Yiadom, and you have been listening to African Business Stories.